So Elizabeth asked me to talk all about what the fire marshal does and what I do, or what our division does, and the fire and life safety division does to prevent, like, what we call community risk reduction. What do we do to prevent fires and issues from happening within our fire district? So I said, sure, I'll throw something together and we'll talk about it. So, fire marshal has a bunch of different jobs. I always tell people I have 4 different main jobs that I do. The first job kind of is like code enforcement, where we go out and do inspections of buildings. New construction, which is kind of plan review of somebody wants to build a new building. We look at the plans. Fire investigations, public education, and I guess technically we now have a 5th job. Is more wildfire defensible space assessments. Has kind of been rolled into our job lately. And so within that, we have a lot of other jobs that we do, like within kind of code enforcement in that inspection world, we issue permits. Permits could be anything and everything from like mobile food units. We issue permits for them to operate. We also issue permits for large events for them to operate and have their event. So if somebody wants to have a large outdoor event at the fairgrounds, we'll issue them what we call an outdoor event permit so that they can have their event go off. Sounds like a simple permit, but they also submit all this documentation to us. It's called a public safety plan that we review and make sure that they're thinking about all the things that basically could go wrong with their event and that they're prepared for it. So we review it and make sure that they're adequately prepared. We'll issue the permit, and then before their event starts, we go out and inspect their event to make sure that, yes, they truly are prepared for whatever they're going to do. So basically under code enforcement, so we'll go out and inspect, kind of like a building like this. We come out and inspect this building every year. And so we're looking to make sure that it's safe for you to be in and it's safe for the employees to be in also. So as we come into this building, we're making sure that, the exits aren't blocked. Exit signs are all lit up. Fire extinguishers are where they're supposed to be. They haven't piled furniture in front of it and you can't find it. They're adequately marked. The fire sprinkler systems in the building, they've been serviced and maintained like they're supposed to be. And there's a fire alarm system. It's the same. It's been maintained like it's supposed to be. If they're storing things, making sure that they're being stored adequately and properly. And then if we do find stuff, there's kind of a give and take, right? So if it's a simple fix, I always tell people, like, if you just fix that right now, you save me a bunch of ink, I don't have to write it up. So if it's just taking care of an extension cord, take care of it, right? Let's fix it now. Sometimes you don't even have to write stuff up. It just depends upon the relationship you have with that business owner. And so as we walk through a building, if we start finding more and more things, we're like, okay, well, we need to start documenting some things here. We have a pattern going on in the building. So we provide them a correction notice, and then they initially get 30 days to fix things. Most times everybody fixes it. Sometimes you'll get the one egg that doesn't want to fix things, and it takes them 60 days. Unfortunately, after 90 days, we always tell them, hey, we do have a thing called a delinquent fine. If you don't want to get it done, then the fines kick in. So our goal at the end of the day is not to fine people, it's to get them to be compliant and make sure their building's safe. So, under plan review, so my job is, I do all the plan reviews for our fire district, and so somebody wants to build a new building, when they submit all their plans to the building department and city engineering for review, they bring us into as part of the review. So under Oregon law, part of our review is they simplify it and say, well, you can only look at fire department access and water supply. Well, depending upon our relationship with the building official, our responsibilities can be even more than that. And so the relationship I have with my building official is the responsibilities that I have are even more because he has a small staff, just like I have a small staff. And so we kind of give and take each other with what we're going to work on and what we're going to do. Because he has expertise in some things and I have expertise in other things. So when I get a set of plans in, I'm looking at it, make sure it's safe for the firefighters. Can they get there with their big red trucks? And can they maneuver through wherever they need to maneuver through? And is there adequate fire hydrants in the area? And is there adequate water supply? So that's the first thing I would look at, is like, is there even water available? So like in this area, while there's fire hydrants on the street, there's not great water supply. So if somebody wants to build a building over here, it's kind of a fine line. So they may have to install what they call a fire pump in their building, which makes their project really expensive after that. So the other thing I do is fire investigations. So knock on wood, I'm glad we don't have a lot of fires. So the main job of fire investigations is figure out the how and the why. So how did the fire start and why did it start and how can we prevent it from happening in the future? So basically, say you're Mr. Coffee maker started a fire in your kitchen and I determined that's what was the cause of the fire. One of the things we do through fire investigations is we work with Consumer Product Safety Commission. So I would document that information of Mr. Coffee might have caused that fire. I take that information and report it back to Consumer Product Safety Commission, and they may reach out to you as the property owner and collect that coffee maker. I leave it in place. They may collect it and analyze it and get some more data from it, but they may execute a recall based upon our fire investigation from that. So we actually I had a very small fire in Terrebonne recently. It was just a plug for a ceiling mounted heater. The plug failed. And I think it was just a design issue with that plug. Another product made in China, unfortunately. Simple investigation, took some pictures, forwarded it to Consumer Product Safety Commission. They forwarded the information to the manufacturer, and then they sent me an email back, just had some questions. And so I don't know if they're going to execute a recall on this, but we're just a small drop in the pond, but there could be other fires happening throughout the country that I'm not aware of. And so they're compiling all this data, so they may go, hey, you know what, we got a problem here. We need to issue a recall and get this product pulled off the market so we don't have a bigger fire. Fire investigations is kind of I always tell people it's kind of like taking a burned up jigsaw puzzle and trying to put it back together, and you're always missing a piece. So it's invariably, right? So I always have those jigsaw puzzles at home. You're like, you put it together and you're like, where's that piece, man? It fell out. It's somewhere in the closet, right? I think it was about 10 years ago. It didn't used to be a science. They went through the process. Now it's been established as a forensic science. It's recognized as forensic science. So we had to follow, everybody remember the scientific protocol from chemistry class? So we have to follow the scientific protocol every time we go out and do a fire investigation. So I don't have a checklist I go through. I have to follow the scientific protocol every single time. So we're looking at collecting evidence. Evidence can be anything and everything. A witness statement is evidence. Could be video. Could be pictures somebody took. Somebody early on was there and took a picture or something, or took a video. It could be anything. Fire always leaves what we call patterns behind. It tells a story, basically, to us as we're looking at it. So we can generally tell, like, the direction that fire has traveled from and where it may have originated from. We can't always tell the point or the exact mechanism where it failed from. Sometimes we have to leave that for the insurance company because they have deeper pockets, and they can collect it and send it to a lab and x-ray stuff and get in deeper on things. We don't always know the outcome of that. Sometimes if we have good relationships with them, they'll email us back and let us know, like, hey, this is what we found out. But we don't always get that information, unfortunately. We work really closely with law enforcement in fire investigations. If we determine a fire is intentionally set, so we'll work directly with law enforcement. So depending upon the extent of that fire and where the fire is set. So you may see in the news, like, a church catches on fire and ATF always shows up. Well, ATF doesn't always show up to church fires. It just depends upon your resource needs. So ATF's a fabulous resource. It just depends upon the local law enforcement if they want them to come in their backyard and play in their sandbox or not. So I do spend some time in court. I will say that. I have testified a bunch. It's not fun. I do like grand jury. Grand jury is the funnest thing to do. It's the easiest thing to do. I've never had to serve on trial. Knock on wood. So, but grand jury is the easiest. Honestly, I think most people plea out. That's why I've never had to go to trial. So I briefly talked about permits. So like one of the permits that we do issue, like I mentioned, is outdoor events. So any event that has more than 500 people, that's an outdoor event. We issue an outdoor assembly permit for that. We also issue permits for fireworks, blasting. So we issue a lot of blasting permits, as you can imagine. So a lot of construction companies want to build stuff, they have to blast through the lava rock, right? So it's cheaper and faster to do that. And so they have to issue a very, very thick documentation to us to be compliant with our regulations, but also the city's specifications to make sure that they're doing it safely and properly. And so they don't get a lot of complaints or damage any nearby buildings. There's other indoor pyrotechnics. We don't get a lot of it over here, but if somebody wanted to do indoor pyrotechnics, we would review that. We do get some fire performers that like to perform fire acts outside. We call them poi pots or fire batons, like the twirl fire. We review those. They usually do it at the fairgrounds every now and then. Equinox Festival had a bunch of fire performers. Sometimes we'll get them at High Desert Music Hall. But we review those. We're just trying to make sure that whatever they want to do, it's safe for the public to be there, and they're not going to catch anything on fire. So public education. So we do a fair amount of public education. So this is my second presentation this week. So public education takes on many different forms. We do it through fire extinguisher training. We just now started doing car seat checks. So our fire inspector, she just got certified as a car seat technician. So every other month, we're going to start offering car seat clinics at our downtown station. So you'll just watch our social media. And so if you see that, share it out, please. We do offer some smoke detectors. Like I said, we don't have enough staffing to be able to go out and offer smoke detectors and install it for everybody and anybody. But if somebody does come out and ask us, we'll make time to go out and help them take care of their smoke alarms. We offer education programs on home heating, electrical, and cooking. So if you have a group that wants us to come out and do a small class, the classes take about 25 minutes. They're super quick and easy. We can do a whole class on home cooking. We did 3 classes at the senior center last month, just on those 3 topics. We do get into the schools some, not as much as we'd like to. Like I said, different priorities and just staffing, unfortunately. We just don't have the time to get in there. But they do ask us to come in. We do Read Across America and get in there and read to the kids. I have my favorite book, The Fire Cat. So. And then, I didn't have it up there, but kind of the hot topic, unfortunately, is wildfire lately. So we go around and talk about a lot of wildfire education lately. That's why I put this up here, because I wanted to give you an idea of kind of like what we do in the Fire and Life Safety Division. So these are last year numbers. I don't have this year's yet. So last year we completed 741 fire and life safety inspections. So those are code enforcement inspections of commercial buildings. We did 550 new construction plan reviews, 706 public education outreach contacts, and 367 wildfire defensible space assessments. So those are going to people's single-family homes and then assessing their property for defensible space. And when we do that, we actually give them a report and says, here, this is what we would recommend you do, like trim back your trees or pull back your bark mulch, stuff like that. And that's a free assessment that we do. So if you're interested in that, you can go to our website and request it, and we'll come out and assess your property for you free of charge. And then we did 27 fire investigations, and that's about average every year. We do 27 to 30 per year. And so I have what I call an inspection prioritization. So my mantra is, we inspect where people eat, sleep, and gather. So those are the high-risk areas. So apartment complexes, schools, churches, daycares, hospitals, bars, restaurants. We don't have any nightclubs, but we actually did have somebody submit to build a nightclub. I don't know if they're actually going to build it. We'll see. I don't know what it is. It's a kind of a weird thing. I don't know what it is. So, And then like business offices, we don't get into them as often because if you look at the fire loss data, there's not a lot of fire losses within a business office building. And so those are more of a lower priority for us. The higher priority stuff, after we hit the places where people eat, sleep, and gather, are the industrial side. So kind of the other side of the tracks in this town. And those are kind of the firefighter hazards. And so if we do have a fire in there, yeah, employees will probably be able to egress fairly quickly because they're a large space and people can get out. And there's usually not a lot of employees in there. But if something big does happen in there, there's higher potential for if a firefighter does enter, more potential for a firefighter to get injured in there. So we want to make sure that we know that place and that we know that we have what we call a pre-plan established for that building also. So kind of give you an idea of what we've been doing in the wildfire world. So last year, I think it was last year, yeah, we got a $75,000 grant from the State Fire Marshal's office. And so with that grant, we went out and assessed 367 properties. And then of those 367, 122 reached out to us and asked for financial assistance. We were able to give them basically $667, not a lot, to help them get their defensible space projects started. Whether that could have been adding screening or helping, replace their mulch with rock or something, whatever it might have been, limbing up the trees. Yeah.
The governor announced yesterday that statewide emergency is that going to have an impact on funding?
On funding?
Yeah, how much can you do?
I've heard rumor that there might be grants coming out this fall from the State Fire Marshal's office for defensible space. So I'm hopeful that they'll come out, and if they do, we're going to apply and try to get more money and help out more residents. So why do we do inspections? Our goal is to keep everybody safe, right? So my goal is to put the firefighters out of business, and I tell them that. If I had my way, every building in the city would be sprinklered, right? So as developers come to us and they're like, hey, I want to build X, but they can't meet certain requirements, we look at ways of like, hey, how do we engineeringly, maybe we can do a trade-off. Be like, hey, if you put fire sprinklers in here, maybe I can give something away, or we can reduce something. So there's ways that we can trade things off by just putting in fire sprinklers in a building. So maybe we can reduce the amount of water that they need to have for that building, or maybe we can increase the distance of the fire hydrants and the spacing in between. So there's good things about for putting fire sprinklers, especially in your house. I have them in my house, so if you want to come see them, actually I'll show them to you on the 27th. I'll give you the tour of the fire sprinklers. So a question I get asked a lot is like, what's the most common cause of fire in your house? It's unattended cooking. So a lot of people put their pan on the stove, they'll put the oil in it, and then they'll walk away for whatever reason. They get distracted by either the kids or the TV, or somebody comes to the front door and they forget the pans on the stove. And usually when I'm interviewing somebody about this fire that's happened on their stove and it's spread into the kitchen, I always ask the question, how long do you think you're gone? Like, just a few seconds. I'm like, are you sure? Because I know the ignition time it takes for that oil to heat up and reach its temperature and go to flame. So it wasn't a few seconds. So, and then kind of, you can see up there, it kind of goes down the list. So electrical hazards, heating equipment. Unfortunately, wildfire exposure is now coming into that play. And then lack of alarms and just in preparedness in general is just not having an escape plan. So I know we're all probably guilty of it. I was guilty of it for a while, just even being in this job, I didn't have an escape plan. So, but as my kids started growing up, I was just like, hey, we have to have an escape plan. We have to practice this. We have to, this is what the smoke alarm sounds like. Because, through studies, we found that the kids, when you push the button, they wouldn't wake up to that tone. So there's actual smoke alarms where you can record the parent's voice and says, hey, Johnny, need you to wake up. There's smoke in the house. And so the kids would actually respond to the parent's voice over that little tone that goes off.
Little tone, what smoke detectors do you guys have?
So how do you reduce the risk at your house? So obviously check your smoke alarms. If they're over 10 years old, you gotta replace them, right? Carbon monoxide alarms, depending on the manufacturer, they might be 5 to 7 years. They do make what they call sealed smoke detectors. They have a 10-year life. Supposedly they last 10 years. And with like any electronic component, it could fail early. So just know that. Make sure you have an escape plan. Practice it. Share it with your family. Make sure you have a defensible space for wildfire season. That's important. If you don't have it, start working on it. You don't have to like go out there and be like, oh man, I got to take all this bark mulch out today. I got to pull it back 5 feet because Tom said so. No, you don't have to do it today. You should start working on it. Maybe you can't achieve 5 feet this year. Maybe you can get 3 feet. Maybe next year you can get the other 2 feet. So everything takes, it all takes money, right? So it's like eating an elephant, right? Small bites at a time. So what did you do this year? Bark mulch. Maybe next year you limit up your trees. Maybe next year you want to replace your deck. So every year you need to work on something. Yeah, you had a question.
What's a recommended distance that a propane grill be from the house? Can it be right up against the wall, or can it be?
When you're using it,
When you're using it.
at least 10 feet.
At least 10 feet.
Yeah, for many combustibles.
Yeah, how many of us have a grill within a foot or two of the wall of the house?
I can take you to some apartment complexes and I can show you some balconies where the grill's right up against it, and that's old vinyl siding and it's all melted and warped. Just because the heat comes out that back vent. Yeah, and they don't pull it away.
All our insurance companies that we're dealing with that are canceling policies and everything, they're recommending we go to 10 feet of clearance for all biological material back from the house. No bark chips, no plants, no shrubs, no nothing. And that's like getting to be, especially out in the rural areas that have more dense juniper growth around them. That's a requirement to even get insurance from a bunch of these companies.
So like decking has to go to cement or Trex then? Or?
No, but all bark mulch and all plants, trees, everything else 10 feet back.
The wooden structures are all right?
Yeah, so far.
Is that motivation for a lot of these risk assessments and abatement issues, is people want to lower their insurance bill?
Some are, early on, like last year, a lot of people were getting notices of a cancellation, or they were getting notices that they may get canceled. And so they were calling us and saying, hey, I need an assessment done. Or we were finding that they were actually getting letters in the mail from their insurance company, and like, hey, we did an evaluation of your property. And we would ask, did somebody physically come out and look at your property? Because it looks fine. And they're like, well, no. So we found out they were just taking satellite imagery and looking at their house. You're like, well, no, you need to call your agent and have them actually physically come to your property and have them look at your property. So we would do the assessment, and then we provide a written report, and they would send that to their agent.
Hello?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I was going to say,
got three.
you recommend fire extinguishers, and how do we maintain them?
Yes, I always recommend fire extinguishers. So if you come to my house, there's one mounted in my garage. So I have a 5-pounder mounted in my garage, so I can go multiple different directions with it. How do you maintain it? Honestly, it's a visual check for the one you keep in your house. You just want to make sure that needle's in the green and the safety pin's in place. And then you need to peek in the nozzle, just to make sure a spider didn't climb up there and build a nest and plug up that nozzle on you. And then they last about 12 years for the residential ones. And then after that, you just toss it and get a new one. I think there is, yeah, right.
So if I'm a contractor and building lots and lots of houses, you have to go over every plan, or do they say this is plan number 5 and you say, okay, that's fine?
Every plan. Yep. Every single one we look at, yeah. Yeah.
Can I ask about fireworks?
Go for it.
Do you guys do the permits for fireworks stands and fireworks sales?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see that lessening in our communities?
No, we actually, we have one extra this year. We have a total of 9 sales locations. That includes indoor and outdoor sales, so tent and booth sales, and then indoor store sales. And we also permit the public display at the fairgrounds.
And due to our high risk, and now that it's labeled, whatever it was labeled yesterday, do we see that ever coming to an end in our communities?
I don't know, so the way the law is written, since we're a fire district, we don't have the authority to ban them. I can deny their permit for the sale of it based upon weather conditions. So when, like a lot of times their permit will come in, they come in January when they issue these permits. And so it's really hard to deny somebody's permit in January for a June sale. That's the hard part. If so, we're watching, we're always watching the weather, so sales will start June 23rd. And so we'll watch it. It's up to the city if they want to enact in a full ban and not allow them at all. The only thing they've banned right now is the use within parks and the dry canyon, and that's it.
So when that fire started at the Dry Canyon last year, from fireworks, did you investigate that, or does somebody?
Which end?
Was that you guys that did the investigation?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
Yeah, if it was the one on the south end, that was caused by fireworks. And those were the Oregon legal fireworks.
It's easy to mitigate from my perspective, just, but anyway, what about when it's supposedly wildfire in like rural, on BLM land in Redmond? Do you force investigate those?
So if a fire originates like on BLM land, obviously we're going to be the initial responding agency, and then BLM will come in and they'll eventually take it over, but we'll kind of marry up together and work on it together until it gets to a point where the BLM just completely takes it over, and then BLM will do their own investigation. I'll kind of step back because my other role is a public information officer. I'll assume that role, and I won't do the investigation piece of it because it's their land. Yep. Yeah.
Do you know what started the fire in the homeless camp a week ago? There was a fire behind Redmond.
On 17th?
It was maybe not exactly.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
I made the video of driving by and the smoke coming from.
It was kind of out in the dirt a little bit.
It was back behind, I mean, it was in the homeless camp.
Yeah. It was somebody cutting up a car.
So do we see when it's not wild, started by nature, or people going to start having consequences? Or you guys, do you enforce charges when you know what caused it, there's negligence, or?
Yeah, so it depends. So it's really, the bad thing is it's really hard, like so in that area you're describing, when it's out in that homeless area, people scatter to the wind, and it's like, there's no suspects, no witnesses, so it's like hard to pin anything on anybody. So if and so I respond to somebody's property and say they were illegally burning during a burn ban, which we're under right now. And I can confirm, yes, they were illegally burning. So we do have a fine for that. It's $335 for burning right now. July 1st, that goes up to $500. And so if that fire were to spread from their property to a neighbor's property and cause damages, then I can cite them for reckless burning. Because through the sheriff's office, myself and my inspector were sworn as special deputies, and so we can write citations for that stuff.
And then generally, the neighbor's insurance is going to go back after that. Yeah. And like Dr. what's his name over there on Centerview. Yeah. When he lit it on fire and burned everybody's like almost no blood because of burns and leaves. I think there's some lawsuits pending over.
Yeah, he still has his court case is still pending.
Yeah.
Okay, so real quick, just kind of give you an idea of what's on the horizon. So we're in the process of creating what's called a wildland urban interface code for our fire district. It's under review with State Fire Marshal's office right now, so once it comes back, I have to review it for their comments and then send it back again for another review. But what does that mean? That just means that puts code requirements in place for property owners that they have to follow. So for like vegetation, bark mulch, things like that. It wouldn't require home hardening requirements. That would be through the building department. So the city's actually looking at that right now to potentially adopt that requirement. And the county's already adopted the home hardening requirements. And so if, once our code is all said and done and adopted and official, we're going to have a 2-year kind of grandfather period for existing structures, for existing residential. And the idea behind that is for those 2 years, we're out there educating you all about it. So I want you to learn why, be educated and understand the why before we even start any kind of enforcement. When the code does roll out, it'll apply immediately to new construction and existing commercial. So when we're out there inspecting a building already doing a fire inspection, we'll do a wildland inspection of it already. Two things that we've, so some grants that we've applied for, the first one we applied for is a wildland education awareness and a wood chipper program. So possibly if it gets funded, we could potentially have a wood chipper of our own that we could either lease out to like a neighborhood association, and they could use it for a cleanup day, and they can chip their own material, and then they would haul it off to the landfill and get rid of it, or we would come out and figure out how to operate it. So haven't worked out the fine details of that yet, but that's the idea behind that. We've also applied for a portable digital fire extinguisher prop. Waiting to hear back on that grant. Supposed to be here back at the end of this month, hopefully. Basically, that's cool thing is we can take that extinguisher prop anywhere and everywhere inside of a building, no matter the weather, and you can use it inside and actually, not make a mess. Our community day is coming up September 19th from 11 to 3 at our downtown station. So if you don't have it in your calendar, put it on there.
And Tom makes the best popcorn.
Yeah. And we're actually teaming up with the Senior Center this year. They're doing their Harvest Palooza on the 19th at the same time. So both events are going at the same time. So you'll see cross marketing happening for that. So they're going to actually have a live band and food vendors, and we're going to have a bunch of same stuff that we usually have. So if you're not busy that day, come dunk the fire chief in the dunk tank. And then I talked about car seat clinics. So there's the dates: June 9th, September 10th, and November 12th from 9 to noon at our downtown station. So if you know people that need their car seat checked, you can send them on down. That's it.
Get your picture with your pen.
All right, thank you.
I just want to add real quick on